Greetings, I'm Sister Aisha Diana Conwood, currently the Assistant Commissioner of Agriculture for the U.S. Virgin Islands. Time for the lioness to roar. You know, this is the lion's voice. Lioness, let's roar, lion pour. Ah!
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
I say that it's difficult for people in our community to do that because that's admitting that something is, I don't want to say something's wrong, that something's off, something needs to be addressed. And then when you admit that, then the second step is, are you going to do something about it? So I would say it's also the shame and the guilt of certain experiences that we may have had, things that have happened in our lives, whether it be trauma related, whether it be work related, or just, I'd say mental wise as well, the way we think, the way we process things.
The year is 1892, and the land of Ethiopia has been experiencing 4 years of terrible famine and drought. They call it the Kikuken, or the evil days. At least 1/3 of the human population and 90% of the cattle have died. The hyenas have feasted on so many carcasses that they have become overweight and barely able to move. Just when the people could take no more of the evil days, a woman named Wasiro Yeshimabet is giving birth in a place called Erjersa Gora. This is her 9th attempt to bring forth new life. Her previous 8 attempts only resulted in death. Will this child live? Thankfully, a healthy baby boy is born. His first cries are drowned by thunder and lightning flashes across the night sky. The heavens open up and torrential rain starts to fall. Ethiopia's drought is over, and the baby boy is given the name Tafari, meaning one to be feared or respected. Tafari's father, Rastafari, is a very important man in 1892 Ethiopia. Although he is overjoyed at the birth of his newborn son, he cannot spend much time with him. Rastafari is the governor of Harar and must get back to the famous walled city to deal with its affairs. Furthermore, he is the foreign minister of Ethiopia, and having traveled to different places in Europe, he is very aware of the material and military advances they have made and the looming threats they pose to his country. Rastafari knows that the majority of Ethiopians have no idea what is coming, and that he has to work that much harder to secure the realm. Tafari would grow up to become the legendary emperor, Haile Selassie I. To understand his journey, we must first understand the Ethiopia that he was inheriting, and what it was like when he was born in 1892. Get your copy of Kwasi Bansu's book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, and increase your knowledge about the history, politics, and culture of Ethiopia in 1892, and how it connects to the rest of African and world history at the time. Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1 is available for purchase at www.bookmanexpress.pub. Please visit for more information.
And then what, because one of the things I love when, we reconnected with Star Reason, is that you're passionate about Black people. And, I consider myself a Panafrican brethren, I really, that's where, I love the human family. Growing up in Toronto was very multicultural, so we have brethren of all races, and I give thanks for that. But I realize, with knowledge that what has been done to our people, when you start to get the story, and then you see that we're still suffering, a lot of the problems that we see in our community are stemming from our history, and in our journey. And I wanted to know what are some of the common challenges that you see, particular to Black people, because you've served, all people, but I know your passion is for our community. What are some of the common challenges that we struggle with as a community, can you say?
I would say, so when you had mentioned that a lot of us are struggling, I would say struggling in silence, yes, in isolation, and just I think there's the thinking that there's something wrong with you, that you can't be supported, you can't be helped, and being able to find a place where you can really talk about that. I say that it's difficult for people in our community to do that, because that's admitting that something is, I don't want to say something's wrong, that something's off, something needs to be addressed. And then when you admit that, then the second step is, are you going to do something about it? So I would say it's also the shame and the guilt of certain experiences that we may have had, things that have happened in our lives, whether it be trauma related, whether it be work related, or just, I'd say mental wise as well, the way we think, the way we process things. So being able, I shouldn't even say being able, but isolating and internalizing that, I think that's the biggest challenge. But when people finally do come to get that support, I see it's like this opening, right? Like it's this, I'll say it's like a flower that's opening, right? And it takes a while to develop trust. But once that trust is developed, I love to see the progression and the healing. And my goal is to help people on their healing journey and also help them to heal in as natural ways as possible.
Yeah, and one of the things, I tell my sister here is, I've been encouraging her to write a book. All of my creatives and professionals, I say, write the book, so that, you can share. Because a lot of times we work in the system and we accumulate all of this knowledge and we have demonstrated all of this competency, but we don't take the time to build our own brand, to really develop ourselves, and we take ourselves for granted as Black people. I think that's one of the effects of slavery, colonialism, mental slavery, where we always are seeking that validation in a bigger system, and we don't realize that we're the ones that keep the system alive, for the most part, with our hard work. I want to know, in terms of the Black community, because I want to also talk about some solutions. I don't want to just be doom and gloom, but I want to know, because stress, stress is one of the biggest issues, as you say, the 30-day cycle. I gotta pay mortgage, I gotta pay or rent, I gotta pay light bill every 30 days. I gotta hit this, and if I'm off, I could be homeless. This is modern life. Talk about the mental ill or impacts that stress can have if not addressed.
Well, the first thing that you say is that 30 days where, there's these bills that we have to pay. And I think that often takes precedence over everything. Our physical health at times, I won't say all the time, but our physical health as well as our mental health. Mm-hmm. And when we're pushing those things to the side, it's always there until it's addressed. And what happens is the stress becomes worse. And our body, and this is what I say to my clients, is our body talks to us, but sometimes we're not listening. And if we do take the time to listen to what our body is saying, it's screaming to us saying, we need to get that support, we need to get the help, we need to slow down, we need to rest, and we need to look at certain challenges that we're faced with. And what I had mentioned before, not only just recognizing that there's an issue and a concern, but then we need to address it. And we're very good as a community to just keep going. I used to call myself the endurer, so I would just endure challenges because that's what you do. You just keep working. You have to pay your rent, your mortgage, you have to take care of your children, and right? But there comes a point where if we don't address it, then it's going to catch up with us, whether that be by a physical health concern, a mental health concern, or something else alike, right? So it's really important for us to acknowledge that we have the stress and that it is okay to slow down and get the support and the help that we need. So I hope that answered your question. But really, to wrap it all up, if we don't deal with the stress, it's always going to be there. And we don't want it to take us out, right? Because the help is there.
Talk about some of the stigma in our community around mental health. And, being from Jamaica, because I have a large audience in Jamaica, talk about culturally as Jamaicans, the stigma that you see when addressing our community in particular.
I would say that there is a minimizing of the issues and challenges that we experience, or I'd say even I think about my mother and father there when they were growing up, so it's that, or not even understanding that there is a mental health concern or there is an addiction, saying somebody is an alcoholic or somebody has depression or some other severe mental health concern. So having to acknowledge that is to accept that that's a part of who you are. And I want to say that it's a part of, because if somebody has a mental health issue or a substance use concern or an addiction, it doesn't mean that that's the whole person. And I think that the stigma with that is if you acknowledge it or if you go and get help, that's admitting that there is a problem. And then we are very much a community where we don't tell people our business. We don't tell people our problem because we're going to be judged or you'll look at as less than. So that's the stuff that keeps people isolated and keeps people sick. So I think conversations like these, if it's one person that we're able to help and support, once they get that support, hopefully if they come into contact with someone else, they can then pass that information along to someone else. But the stigma is real, and we need to keep having these conversations.
Emmanuel, those anointed by Samuel, we lions like Daniel, brothers like Ishmael and Israel, here to break the spell. Oh companions, I bid farewell, cause I see you joining up with the legions of hell. I spit flames, fire blaze, I cut a clear path through the wrath, protected by his rod and staff, while the wicked blow away like the shaft in the aftermath of their own craft, snared in their own trap set like Hamlet. I never will forget my root, King David's offshoot. That's why I speak the truth at all costs. Don't wanna get tossed in the sinking mire, the forgetful fire, full of tormented souls who never achieve their goals. That's why I hold up the banner high. Rastafari abide with I. Let's ride for life. Tell the youths about the king in the heights, Mount Zion nice. Say you ain't got to die to see it. That's the lie, you see it. That's why so many perish, never even try to see it. When you could buy a plane ticket, straight fly and see it. Come on. Say you should do good, be good, live good. Like you should do good, be good, live good. Hey yo, time to fly away. Yard up in the Mount Zion, won't see I another day. In the mama Africa, feel the sun rays. Hail Rastafari, give thanks and praise. Hey yo, rubber Babylon, them got to captivate. Cause all you talk about is just the money that you make. Well, money they make, got the slave master, face master, still control them. The devil still hold them. I focus my thoughts on the one who hold the golden scepter. Some call him elect a god. I and I know there's no separation. Africa awaits, so we making preparations. Black liberation. Hey yo, we must rise, no time to fantasize. Babylon sex don't gotta scandalize. Them slave ships so can be romanticized. The vandals come slave and vandalize. Even the black woman them come scandalize. Them try to fight, race all trace of the 12 tribes. Can't put your trust in Pharisees and scribes. So highly Selassie, I never take no bribes. Got to do good, that's the way to survive. So you should do good.